Misty. Welcome to Ballerina Book Club. We're so happy that you're here.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I've never done anything like this with like my friends and like colleagues. So
I know. Okay, so first thing, we should talk about like when we first met.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Well,
do you remember this story?
I don't think so. I mean, all I know is like when I first came to ABT, obviously I knew who you were. I had like the Point magazine with you on the cover, and I was just intimidated, frankly, because you were just such this impressive figure and like beautiful dancer and everything.
You're crazy. Well, I just remember you were in the studio. You were new to the studio company, like just starting with a new group, and we were at a party. I have no idea. I can't remember whose house we were at. Okay. And you came up to me. Maybe it was some type of donor thing, but I just remember it was like a house and like party situation. And you introduced yourself as Hilder. And then you were like, Isabella. wait. And I was like, huh? And it was so adorable. And like, that was my first impression of you.
She doesn't even know her name.
It was so adorable.
Where are you quarantining? What have you been up to?
I am here in New York City. I've been here pretty much the whole time. I took a small trip to California, but I'm with my husband, and it's amazing to actually have time. There's so much of my time is dedicated to everything, all the different projects and being a professional dancer and being a part of ABT, writing, all of those things. So it's nice to just kind of have time to just feel like a human being again, which is weird because I know that a lot of people don't feel human in these moments, but I think that it's a beautiful opportunity for us to just like connect with one another.
Totally. I feel the same. I feel like I haven't had a break since I went to boarding school.
5? No.
Yeah. I feel like I've just been like clawing my way up. So as I was reading your book, Life in Motion, your wonderful, wonderful book. Everyone needs to read this book. Whether you're a ballet lover or not, it's just an amazing, amazing story. Beautiful. But yeah, like I was reading the opening about Firebird, and it like brought back so many memories of that whole creation process. That was so crazy. It feels so long ago.
It was really a special moment for me and you and for Natalia Osipova. It just felt so like this tiny little bubble that we were in. I mean, we were off at the time, right? Like we came in. Like ABT was on a layoff.
Break, right?
ABT was on a layoff, and they asked for us to come in early to start working with Alexi. And I remember those days being so brutal. And I remember going to Equinox across the street from 890 after every rehearsal because the pain in my shin had already started to develop from doing so much jumping. And it was just the three of us for hours on end.
Oh, yeah.
It was insane.
Totally. And just like bending over backwards to like
to please
choreography come to life.
Yeah. And I mean, I like that time was so special. Yeah. But yeah, I would go to the jacuzzi and like steam room like every single day and just like massage my like shin muscles and I like wasn't really telling anyone. And that's the start of the whole book, was that kind of that setting the scene with that really just big moment in my career, because that was really, I think, what allowed me to be in the position that I'm in. I think had Alexi not given me that opportunity, there's no way I would have at 29 years old gotten to do a principal role randomly that I'd never been given an opportunity to do. So I mean that moment was so vital, and that's why the book started that way.
Whenever I think of his Firebird, honestly, I think of you, because I feel like I just remember watching you in rehearsal and how you would shape the movement, and it was like you were completely making it your own, and you knew exactly who the Firebird was. And I remember like that was so impressive to me because I wasn't that experienced at the time, and I was like, oh, that's like how you work with a choreographer. That's how you show her or him what you think the movement should be and make it your own. I don't know. It was such an amazing experience.
It really was. And I just remember it like bonding, the three of us as well.
Yeah.
But it was just such a special time. And And what's interesting is that when I got injured, that's when I was approached to write my memoir, was during that time that someone had reached out to me. And I was like, what? I'm 29. Why am I going to write a memoir? And who wants to hear my story? But that's where it all began. And that's like the books, you know, I'm working on, I think, my fourth or fifth book now. And it
comes out in the fall, right?
It comes out in the fall. It's called Bunheads, and it's just really opened up an incredible like other side of like expressing myself through like art, which writing I think is an art form, and it's so cathartic. And I've been journaling and writing since I was like 12, 13 years old. And I need to do more of it. It's so different to actually write rather than just, because I journal a lot in my notes and my phone, but it's just not the same experience to actually like read a book and to write on paper.
Totally.
Very different experiences.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what you briefly just touched on. I feel like dancing and writing are obviously very different creative processes, but are there any parallels that you've found like as a writer and a dancer creatively or artistically?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, just as like as a child, I literally didn't have a voice. Like there were people that I went to school with that thought I was mute. No joke. Like I was so introverted because I was just so protective over my like situation at home, and just the fear of being judged. It was like, I just want to survive and I don't want to have to deal with anything outside of that, like, you know, trying to be someone I'm not, or try to like make up stories to make myself fit in. So I literally just didn't talk, and I just like wouldn't hang out with anyone. So I was definitely like a loner. And so writing was just so freeing for me. It literally was the only way that I could get out like what was inside of me, until I found dance. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is on another level. I mean, and I owe it to like, I think art coming into my life that allowed me to find who I was and feel confident in that, and not, you know, ballet was the first space that I felt like I fit in, and I felt like I was beautiful and that I was good at something. And then to step into the writing process, like I was just like, school was not a good experience for me. And I think it's because I didn't have arts in my life. And I think that I couldn't learn in the way that I needed to without having art. Like it gave me so many tools that allowed me to, just for my brain to work in the way that my brain needed to work. And I think that's why it's so important for like the arts to be in schools. I don't think that a child or a human being should be without it. You know, it's literally the first thing that you do when you come out of the womb is like you move your body and you use your voice.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I think that's definitely what like has saved me. But I think it's very similar to dancing. I mean, I think that as an artist, and I know you're the same, and that we kind of approach whatever it is we do in life kind of with the same intent, like as our art, like whether it's cooking, like I find ways of just like expressing myself through like these different realms of art.
Totally. Yeah, no, I feel exactly the same. I couldn't agree more with everything you just said about the importance of art. And I mean, I felt the same. Like I always felt like such a loner and outsider until I went to ballet boarding school. And then even though there were really hard things about that, I was just like, like my people, this is where I'm meant to be, my niche. Dancing and reading were my two escapes from whatever hardships I was dealing with in my life. Were you a big reader or like a bookworm, or what was your journey with reading?
I would say that more so like being in libraries was like what I would do. Rather than being a bookworm. Like I wrote more than I was like doing outside reading at home. I think also because of the way that I grew up, like we, you know, growing up with 5 siblings in a single parent home, we weren't getting tutoring. We weren't being looked after for like education. And we literally were just, again, surviving, like moving from home to home, sometimes not having a home, not having food on the table. Just like in and out of different schools. And so that was never something that was like a priority. It was like my mom keeping a job and like feeding us. So that was definitely not like something that was a part of like the structure of childhood. But I definitely found an escape through reading though, and through like storytelling. But being in libraries, you know, like at lunch, I just didn't want to get close to anyone because I didn't want them to know my personal situation. So I would like eat lunch or like hide out in the library or like eat in the bathroom. So like I feel like the library was like a very safe place for me. But yeah, I have like memories of just a lot of, I think, like children's books that I feel really like affected me. And I remember like Where the Wild Things Are.
I love that
and like,
book.
you know, just I think that was something that looking back, I'm like, I realized like, I think how artistic I was, even though I wasn't a part of any art form, just that I found that to be like this kind of comforting, normal story when it's not. It's
Totally.
like that looks normal. That parallels my life. No, like
Relatable.
so relatable. Charlotte's Web, just, you know, and then when I started dancing, to read Dancing on My Grave was
Oh
just,
my God. Yes. That blew my mind.
blew my mind. Yeah, and so I think that I just kind of like grew into like, you know, discovering these things on my own again, because it wasn't something that was structured in my household at all. So I feel like books came into my life like more so on my terms, like at an older age. What's weird is that like, I mean, my brother was my eldest brother. He's an artist as well, but he was really good in school. But he was like craving that, but we just didn't have access, you know, and like where we would live and stuff. But he would read the dictionary and like thesaurus, and I was just like, he is crazy. But he clearly was like craving, like, you know, needing something like that in his life. So it's just fascinating how they're different.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it seems like you guys were very much self-taught, like in whatever area. You obviously had the tenacity to just like plow ahead at all, against all odds.
I mean, I think that was, I don't think that I could have gone through everything that I have had I not had the upbringing and experiences in my life, like to just kind of give me that strength and will. And my mom, you know, just it was normal to me to just be in survival mode. And so coming into the ballet world, it was like, oh, this is nothing compared to what I've seen and been through in my 13 years. It was like really just, I was so hungry for stability and structure. Like I didn't have that in my life, and ballet was all of those things. It was literally everything I needed. It was structure, it was balance, but then it was also this freedom of expression without speaking. And so I think that's why I was just so drawn to it. But my siblings definitely, I think, are like we all just kind of, we were each other's best friends and we supported one another. And to this day, like we were just like this little bunch that survived together.
So cool. I really appreciated how your book like was not at all like a slam piece. And I feel like I know you've dealt with a ton of adversity in your like trajectory to becoming a ballerina, but I just felt like it was such a nuanced portrayal of like everything that you've experienced.
Thank you both. I mean, I think because of what the life that I have now wouldn't have happened without ballet coming into my life. And so, or having like amazing people that have come into my life and mentored me. And so I would do everything over again the same just to get back to, you know, to this position of just feeling so fulfilled and enriched. But I know how important it is to express those things, because I feel like so many people just have such negative, you know, ideas and perceptions about what ballet is. And it's like, that was not my experience at all. I mean, of course, everything that you can think of in the earth has some negative sides to it. But I'm like on this mission and journey to change the way that ballet is depicted in like film and TV and media, because it can enrich lives, which it's done for like all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, honestly, you've inspired me so much in that way. I just want everyone to love it as much as I do.
I know. I mean, we have these platforms to be able to reach and access so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the ballet world needs, is more people that appreciate it and can see it and relate to it. And so I think that, like, without a virtual presence, there's no way we can be sustainable and like grow.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, like, I don't know, I mean, I'm so sad to not be performing because I feel like the Met season in particular is such a time of artistic growth for us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in a way I'm like, it's a missed opportunity, but I think we're growing in other ways as artists. We're gaining, I don't know, other experiences and knowledge and connecting more, sharing more. So
I completely agree.
honestly, one reason I wanted to start Ballerina Book Club is because I just felt like a lot of what I was putting on my Instagram was just really like frivolous and lighthearted. And I wanted to be able to connect with my audience in a more like intellectual way. And I've always been like such a huge bookworm. And so hopefully something that will happen from like, I don't know, people watching these interviews and participating in the book club is just seeing a different side of these artists.
Yeah, I mean, what's so interesting about what you said is that I remember when I first started dancing, and I think I said it in the book, I'm like, if I'm going to call anyone out, it's going to be one of my siblings. But my brother Chris, I wrote about it in the book, but my brother Chris, I remember having like, I mean, it's still so vivid in my mind, having these arguments with him when I started dancing about, you know, I would come home and just be exhausted in every way, like mentally, emotionally, physically. And he just like couldn't comprehend why. And he would just say like, I don't understand, like, you're not even using your brain. And I feel like that's like kind of, not to like throw him under the bus, and clearly he's evolved since he was like 15,
yeah.
But that people just think that it's just this kind of like very light physical thing that we do. But you know, that's why I champion it so much, is because it's like you're using so many parts of yourself that so many people never access. You know, the connection of between music and your brain, and music and your body and your emotions, and then all of those things tying together. I can't think of anything else that uses the whole of your being like dance does in particular. And so, yeah, I just think that it's so important to let people know that we are so much more than just twirling around on the stage in a tutu, that we are intellectual and we are intelligent and we read and we write.
Yeah. One more question about Life in Motion. I'm just curious, like, what do you feel like the legacy of this book is? Because I feel like it really has changed the culture. I really feel like, in a way, like not just the book, but you. And I think this book was like a first step of you sharing your experience and like helping to educate. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Do you ever think about that? Like what the long-term impact is?
I think that I just hope to leave people with like a positive idea and image of what ballet is. Mm-hmm. And also to like use my voice to share stories that deserve for people to know about. And you know, I have a production company and I'm working on a lot of dance. Everything is, as of now, like connected and comes back to dance and ballet in some way. But to be able to be in a position to give like respect to dancers that, you know, Black and brown dancers that never got the opportunities that I have, that people don't know about. You can't open up a book and learn about so many African-American ballet dancers. And that's definitely something that I want to leave, you know, as, you know, that when people think of me, they think of every dancer who got me to this place.
Yeah.
And so, and then in the end, like that people are like, she was a good dancer.
I think we've established that you're an amazing dancer.
No, but just like, you know, just like not even like, because I know that so many dancers like want to be the best and the, you know, all of these goals, but it's like I just want people to know how much I respect the art form and I respect the history and the tradition, and that everything that I've gained from this has given me the life I have and has made me the person that I am, and that I'm grateful and that I've represented ballet in a honorable way.
This part is called Have You Read This? No or Yes.
Oh.
Just Kids by Patti Smith.
No.
Oh, okay, I'm going to send you that.
I'm going to be like, no.
Harry Potter?
No. Not really my genre.
Romeo and Juliet?
Yes.
Educated?
I'm not sure.
It came out pretty recently. It was actually like one of the
no
picks. It's really good.
Sure I have it in my, because Olu owns like every book ever.
Olu's probably read it.
Yeah, he absolutely has.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. I'm so into it.
Okay, if you would just recommend like one book to readers, okay, or like a couple books.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like I think similar to like my personality, I'm kind of like all over the charts with it. So I'm not just kind of like one thing. Like I love everything that Ta-Nehisi Coates writes. You know, I think that it's a very clear, perception of what it is to be a Black American.
Okay. Did you read The Water Dancer? I haven't read that yet.
I have it.
Okay.
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, okay.
And then I love to just like have more light stuff. Like, I love this was like years ago now, but Emily Giffin, I own like every book that she's ever written. She did like Something Borrowed, Something Blue. She did like one. That was kind of my like guilty pleasure.
Yes.
But then like a book that I continue to come back to like for probably like over a decade is The Power of Now. But
that's literally on my bedside table. I need to read that.
Girl.
Okay, I'll start it.
Yes, please.
Okay.
But that's something that like the way that I read it changes so much each time I do, because I'm like in my life. So it's really fascinating. That one is something that I definitely like would recommend.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I'll definitely pick it up. Well, Misty, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing this. I know I already said this a lot, but like I look up to you and you inspire me so much. And yeah.
I love you.
Thanks, friend.
So much. I love you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.